and welcome to the December 14th, 2022 City Council Work Session. Thank you for joining us in this hybrid meeting format. I see we have 3 counselors on Zoom and the rest are in the room. For work sessions like this one, where there is no opportunity for public comment, those wishing to access the meeting can do so by watching the live stream available on our website, the broadcast on Comcast Channel 21, or by calling into one of the phone numbers listed for this meeting on the public webcast and meeting materials web page. And again, I thank you all for joining us, and I call this meeting to order. And I'm actually our first item of business is to pick up Ward 7. Manager, did you want to speak to this at all at the beginning? No.
I don't think I need to.
Okay. All right. So with that, I'm actually turning it over to the council president to return to the Ward 7 appointment.
I'm going to ask the city attorney. This is an open process now.
Correct.
So that any one of us who has voted or nominated a candidate before can bring forth a nomination now. So I don't have to do this right at this particular time, but I can do this later on in the process if we don't get to a majority vote through the first series of motions. So I'll defer my, prerogative to Councilor Semple. I think that she wants to make a motion.
Why, thank you, Council President Evans. I appreciate that. I move to appoint Thomas Ura for interim Ward 7 councilor.
Is there a second? There's a second from Jennifer. All right.
No, sorry, I wasn't seconding it. I was just getting in the queue.
Oh, okay. So it hasn't been seconded
I
yet.
will second for the sake of discussion.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Okay. Jennifer, did you want to speak to this motion?
Well, I'm not sure if I'm doing this right, but I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'd like to make a motion to substitute. Can I do that now, Catherine?
Yes, you may.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to substitute for Lindsay Leach.
Second.
We have a second for that. Okay. Anybody want to speak to that?
I guess I'll speak really quickly if you don't mind. I know I didn't talk much yesterday, so I apologize. To be honest, I thought Dan Isaacson did the best in his interview in his application, but taking into a lot of other factors into consideration, I'm willing to kind of move on to my second choice, which is Lindsay, in an effort to try to, get some consolidation of folks, and I think she did a really great job. I'm sorry I'm not super articulate today, but I found her very thoughtful, and the fact that she is an outsider and not involved in the city process, I also found to be a positive in this particular scenario, and that's why I'm supporting her.
Okay, thank you for straining your voice to share that with us. I have Alan and then Mike.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I too had Jan as my first choice and moved on to my second choice as a compromise candidate. I thought Lindsay did a very good job in the interviews, and her background fits well with what we need to do at council, and so I think she would be a positive asset to the council. That's why I would support her.
Okay, thank you.
Compromise candidate.
Mike.
Thank you, Mayor. I would still like to have at least one vote on my primary choice, so I'll make a motion after we vote on Thomas, if that's all right. I still have this. Sorry, what?
We're voting on Lindsay.
Right now, it's the motion to substitute Lindsay.
Right. And my position on that candidate is the same it was during the other meeting. And I would like us to see us vote on Thomas. So after that is disposed of, if he wins, that'll be that. But if not, I'll have a motion after that. Thank you.
Okay, well, right now we're voting on a motion to substitute. Are there any other comments on that motion? So all in favor of the motion to substitute Lindsay for Thomas? 1, 2, 3. We're in the same place. All opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that goes down. So we're back to the original motion for Thomas. Did you want to speak to that, Emily?
Yes, thank you. I still totally believe in my heart, my gut, and my brain that Thomas is a right choice at this point. We have a lot of division. I think he's a peaceful, neutral party that could get people to actually listen to each other. We have had a tsunami of amazingly favorable emails from all over the city and many, many from Ward 7. I hope that you took the time to look at his video from First Future Citizen from 10 years ago at North Eugene High School, and also at the interview he did for us yesterday, since he didn't have the opportunity to come earlier. It's true, he knew the questions, he could see the other interviewees, but the information is there, and I hope you took the time to get to know him. He's very articulate, very caring, and in spite of a young life, very experienced. I hope you'll be open to this. I think we would all be better with Thomas here. I'm concerned about other candidates being too stringently aligned. We seem to have 2 blocks, and I don't think that's the best way to do business. I think we need to learn to talk to each other and work on compromises and understanding our different viewpoints. I believe Thomas Hura is excellent at that, and I really do think this is the right choice. I hope you will join me. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else want to speak to this before we vote? Okay, all in favor of Thomas Hura, please raise your hands. 1, 2. All opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so that goes down. Mike, you want to speak?
Thank you, Mayor. I move to appoint Barbie Walker to the Ward 7 position.
Second.
Anyone want to speak to that? Mike?
This is someone that I know as well as and was a friend with prior to this process. And so I can speak to her as a middle of the road candidate as well. I know of her particular love for the Willamette Greenway and how important that is to her. And I don't think she had a chance to talk about that much during the course of the interview process, but that may or may not be persuasive to anyone. I just wanted to make that comment. Thank you.
Okay, all in favor of Barbie Walker, please raise your hands. 1, 2, opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4. Emily, did you? 5. Thank you. Okay.
Mayor,
So that goes down. Yes.
I move to substitute Lindsay Leach.
Second.
No, we have to go through the same
Oh,
process.
the same
again.
process. Okay.
Just a motion.
So,
Oh,
Because we already
actually,
voted on her.
Counselor, so we have a vote on Barbie Walker failing 2 to 5. So there's nothing on the table now. There is no, so you don't need to make a motion to substitute. Counselor Evans, you voted against Lindsay Leach, as I recall. So-
Originally, yeah.
Originally, so it would be a
Bring it
motion
back.
for reconsideration of Lindsay Leach, and as a prevailing party in that vote, you may make that motion.
Okay,
I move to reconsider Lindsay Leach.
okay.
it's okay that the second is on the affirmative.
Yes.
Okay,
And Mayor,
Yes.
I'd like to speak to this.
please.
And I beg your indulgence because I may run over my 3 minutes to do this, but very slightly. I want to point out a couple of things. I think that Lindsay did a very good job in her interview. I was impressed with her. I am not impressed with the backroom dealings and the backroom politics that I don't know about the rest of you that I've been personally subjected to in this process. So I want people to know, and everybody in Eugene to know, that I am not controlled by influence and votes or influence from people out of Portland. I will not be controlled by that. I will not be intimidated by people who call me up the night before this vote with veiled threats. I'm going to vote in the best interest, what I think right now is of this community and this council. Whereas I do have some reservations about Lindsay's candidacy. I think for the 6-month period of this interim between now and the election in May, and then taking office in July 1st, that she would be a more than competent candidate to hold the position. But I am not going to be influenced by racial politics played by certain people at this table. Okay? Don't call my friends in Portland because they're Black and you think that they have influence over me. I reject, resent that repugnant behavior on the part of a certain counselor. And I am going to make my vote based upon what I think is right for this city at this time. But I will tell you this, I won't put up with those shenanigans anymore. And I will not, and I repeat, I will not, take this lightly. And the next time this comes up, I have no problem in naming names and calling people out behind this. It's racist, it's repugnant, and it's against everything in my 62 years on this planet that I have worked for, I have stood for in terms of civil rights, civil liberties, and diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. So just so you know, I'm putting you on notice.
Thank you, Counselor. Did you want to speak? Randy?
Please. Thank you, Mayor. Councilor Evans, I am sorry that you experienced that. That's not right. I expect that we all get lobbied to a certain extent, but it shouldn't cross lines. And I'm sorry that happened to you. It's not right. Basically, I'm looking at this point. I had my preferred candidate, but obviously that's not going to work. And I think we need to look at this point, rethink things, look at the interest and welfare of our community. And we need to show a level of unity in welcoming on the new counselor. And I just think it's important that we send a message of solidarity to as much as we can in supporting one person. So at this point, I will be casting a yes vote on this motion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Alan.
Yeah, Greg, I'm sorry that happened. Hopefully lesson learned for some folks. I appreciate both of you moving to your second candidate. I did that at the beginning of this process. So none of us actually ended up getting where we wanted to be at the very beginning. So I appreciate you both moving up in that direction. And I'll be supporting Lindsay as well.
Okay, thank you. I have Mike and then Emily.
Thanks, Mayor. I just wanted to say in the first place, my colleague Greg, I'm sorry to hear that as well. No, you should not have to experience that. And it's wrong. I will say I respect my friend Randy very much, but I'm going to say I'm going to vote no on as I read the tea leaves here. But I want my future colleague to understand that personally, I thought she was a very sweet, very kind, very nice person, very much. But I see my job in this moment is to help somebody to help appoint someone and choose someone who's going to speak for the people of Ward 7. And while I like Lindsay personally, I thought she was very articulate and did a good job in her interview. The views that she shared for me seemed to match those entirely of Counselor Surratt. And as in order to keep my own integrity in place, that I think her views were a part of the recall campaign. And I don't think that voting for someone who shares nearly the same views politically with someone who is recalled is a good service to the people of Ward 7. So I'll probably vote no here, but it's a tough call. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Emily?
Thank you. I think this whole process has been a bunch of bad words. It hasn't been smooth. It hasn't been elegant. It's been embarrassing. And I am absolutely outraged to hear that somebody has done this to Counselor Evans. So unacceptable. Just, I would be speechless, except I'm a counselor, so I can't shut up. I think this is the wrong choice. I agree with Counselor Clark. This recall asks for things to shake up, for us to look at things again, to reevaluate, to get to know each other once again, to reach out to our wards even more. I agree. Lindsay is awesome. The interview, I was like, oh, I like her. Let's have tea. But as far as a counselor and her positions, it's not new. And I'm not saying I'm against all of those positions, but we need to be bold. And this is not being bold. And I am very disappointed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. If there are no other comments, we have a motion to reconsider. Lindsay, all in favor, please raise your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 opposed. 2. So that we're reconsidering Lindsay. Now we vote on Lindsay as, do we need to make a motion now, or we just get to vote on Lindsay? Yeah.
Okay.
All in favor of Lindsay as the interim Ward 7 city councilor, please raise your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 opposed. 2. Thank you very much. I want to thank all of you. I am disturbed that there is such a feeling of anger and frustration among council over this. And I'm glad that we have a vacation for everyone to calm down and relax and have a little time. And I also want to say, you will have a new counselor here. She will need your support. She will need your collegial support. She has a lot to learn. And we have a lot of issues before us as counselor. And so I look to all of you to approach her with openness, with honesty, with sharing information, helping her get on board and get up to speed, because it's a big job. And so thank you again for your really agonizing consideration over this. I look forward to welcoming Lindsay. And with that, we are complete with this item. So thank you very much, Council President. And with that, we are ready for our next item of business, which is Eugene Public Library. Thank you very much.
We could just break for winter.
Yep.
Mayor, do you want to wait for Greg, or do you want to?
Oh, no, I think, sorry. I'm
Okay.
sorry. We're in this
okay.
long pause and I didn't.
You're in your head and we're here.
Sorry.
I want to introduce.
Stay in my head for the
Yeah.
next 40 minutes, but Ben, I think you'd be disappointed in that.
Yeah.
So.
Maybe not. You never know.
Well, I'll just sit here and pretend like he's giving a presentation.
Right.
Yeah.
Or you can pretend Greg's here.
Yeah. I want to go ahead and introduce Ben Clipful, who is our interim Library, Recreation and Cultural Services Director, doing a great job. And I know he's also going to probably do an introduction, but we've sort of traditionally ended the year with a levy report or something that's a little less heavy. We didn't know we were going to be appointing a new city councilor. So I appreciate just the slight pause, and then we'll switch into the great work that's been done.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sarah. Yeah, it's going to be a little weird. I'm going to do an introduction and then we'll have to attend to the screen. Will O'Hearn, our library director, is out with a brand new child, a brand new baby, and so he is joining us virtually today. But we're thrilled to be here to present this first year levy report in our second cycle of a renewed levy. So in some ways, this feels like year 6. In others, it is feeling like year 1. So I'd love to turn it over and introduce Will O'Hearn, our library director, and let him take away this report.
Thank you so much, Ben. I appreciate that great introduction. I'll just go ahead and share my screen here. Can you all see that okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Well, we'll go ahead and get started here. So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Will O'Hearn. Ben, thank you for the introduction, and I'm proud to present the year 1 report of the renewed Eugene Public Library levy here to City Council. So first, let's start with some history. Back in 2016, our community voted for a 5-year levy to help support library operations. We promised to provide more programs and services, more hours and access, and more materials and technology with those funds. Even with how the pandemic has impacted all of us, these goals remain a constant based on hearing what our community wants from our library with the additional funding. And in 2020, the community overwhelmingly renewed the 5-year levy with over 76% approval rating. This report shows how we work towards those goals and promises with the additional community support and what the library has done with that support to offer more to everyone in Eugene. Let's dive more into that now. The mission of our library is to support an informed community. The pandemic shined a light on some of the areas we need to focus on, diversifying the collection to make sure our community members can see the world through a diverse lens. Next, we need to help bridge the digital divide that the pandemic has only widened. The digital divide is real and present, and it's the library's goal to ensure folks have that access to technology and other resources in order to level the playing field for everyone in our community. And lastly, we focus on getting back to normalcy by ensuring folks have access to our life-changing resources and services. We'll elaborate about each of these areas of focus throughout the presentation. Our first promise was to provide more hours and access. As you can see from this slide, we were able to restore our pre-pandemic hours a little over a year ago to follow through on our promise of more hours and access. The levy provides more than 40 hours of access across our three locations. This promise is crucial as it has allowed our community to access our buildings and services during a wide range of times. Additionally, our circulation of materials has grown tremendously, going from 1.6 million circulations the previous year to 2.6 million, almost to what it was pre-pandemic. This is 15 checkouts for every human being living here in Eugene. And we are seeing signs of strong growth in our stats, and we forecast that will exceed pre-pandemic circulation during year 2 of the renewed levy. We are proud to have eliminated all overdue fines on May 1st, 2022. The American Library Association has it as a best practice, as fines are an economic barrier to usage and a form of social inequity. Creating more equity in our services was a major driver in this decision. We received a lot of positive feedback and all sorts of folks sharing that they now feel free they can use the library again without fear, again, furthering access and supporting an informed community. In the first month alone, we had 140 people rejoin the library, and in total, we've had over 600 folks rejoin the library after the obstacles that fines and fees created were removed. We want the library to be for anyone and everyone in our community. Speaking of being there for anyone and everyone, with the partnership of 4J Bethel School Districts, the Library Foundation, and EPL itself, we've been able to offer cards to all 4J and Bethel students, increasing access to 1,200 more students this year. And with this year's additional step of offering no-cost cards to any 0 to 5-year-olds slated to go to 4J or Bethel schools, we've issued 460 youngsters in this age group. And we've added over 7,000 new cardholders in total this year. The foundation has also been focused on access, funding, and working with United Way to ensure all of Lane County qualifies for the wonderful Imagination Library program. Our second promise was more programs and services. Our goal is to have 1,800 programs per year. We didn't hit that goal as the pandemic has interrupted our programming greatly. We have caught our rhythm and we've been able to offer more programming recently, and we've been able to grow it from 345 programs last year to 580 programs this last year. Staffing and the interruption of the pandemic have been factors in that goal not being met. While we don't expect to hit the 1,800 goal next year, we forecast we'll see growth in our programming to be similar to last year's growth in circulation as we get back to normalcy in that area. With our more limited programming, we focused on youth in particular, as early literacy is so crucial. One highlight was our ever popular summer reading program, with total attendance of 11,645, meaning that 1 out of every 10 cardholders participates in this program, making it the second most popular summer reading program in the past 5 years. While it was originally youth focused, our team has done an excellent job diversifying it to be inclusive of adults as well. We've also added a full Library of Things program to the list of services we offer. We found this really plays to our core strengths, sharing resources for folks to try them out in the world themselves, and has been a much more effective way to share maker-related resources than our original space, and where we are pivoting and growing our maker program. The Library of Things is a collection of non-traditional items available for checkout, things you might not expect to see in a library. For example, you can check out a ukulele, various kitchenware, a paper shredder, or even a metal detector. And we are adding new things to the collection all the time. We rolled out the program last year based on the pilot program success, and we're moving forward full steam ahead. It's so popular, we can't even keep items on the shelf. Successful beyond our expectations. We're excited about its future impact and continued growth as a collection. And the Library of Things is important since it enhances the lives of our community members in a number of different aspects. It's good for people since it gives them opportunities they wouldn't have otherwise, providing new experiences for folks that are low risk and potentially high reward. Also, folks don't have to purchase something they may want to use once a year, such as a holiday pan, which is good for our community's pocketbook. And in the same sense, folks can instead share items instead of making individual purchases. So it's also good for the environment due to the sharing economy nature of the service. In short, it hits all areas of the triple bottom line. Our third promise was more materials and services. We had already succeeded at returning the library's collection to pre-recession levels with the support the levy has provided our community. And because of that, we're now focused on maintaining and, of course, diversifying our collection. We always need to make sure that what we offer is fresh and relevant for today, and ensuring we have a diverse collection is vital to that goal of a complete and high-quality collection. We had about a 65 to 75% increase in our e-resources during the first part of the pandemic, and we're still seeing a 25 sustained increase in our usage of our e-resources to this day. We'll continue to expand digital resources for our community as a big area of growth for us. With that in mind, we've increased our digital offerings by over 300,000 items this past year. In total, we have 1.6 million items available in our collection that folks can access, with almost 500,000 physical items and over 1 million digital offerings. As previously mentioned, the digital divide is real. It's morphed from being between digital natives versus non-natives to being between the haves and the have-nots. It's more of a socioeconomic gap than skill-based. Technology and access to the internet has gone from nice to have to an absolute essential utility, particularly during the pandemic. For example, we see some youth in our community have access to the latest and most up-to-date tech, while others have to share a device and have limited access to the internet. Libraries play a crucial role in helping bridge that ever-widening gulf. While many folks have their own devices, there are still many who do not, and the library offers public high-speed computer access to all in our community. Our numbers show this, with an increase in computer sessions by over 40,000 in FY22 from FY21. It's a misconception that everyone has a computer and high-speed internet access. We not only offer public computers at our buildings, but high-speed internet in your homes. By checking out hotspots to those in our community and also working with partner institutions like unsheltered sites and low-income housing, we bridge that divide by connecting the disconnected and meeting folks where they are. And I want to take a moment to offer our extreme gratitude here at the library to both the foundation of the library and the Friends of the Library for help raising over $100,000 for that program, making those hotspots available to help bridge that divide. Thank you. During the pandemic, we've intentionally worked to increase diversity by showcasing BIPOC and diverse authors. We do this since it's so important that we can see the world through others' eyes. And storytelling and literature is an exceptionally effective way of doing that. And since everyone's background is different, it is absolutely vital that we have a diverse collection so we have something for everyone in our community here in Eugene. And it's not only about purchasing items, but also putting them for folks to see. In addition to increasing the number of items by BIPOC authors in our collection, we've also ensured that at least 30% of all displays are by BIPOC authors, pardon me. An example of our efforts is to purchase more items from Native American book publishers and other independent publishers who focus on people of color. Bringing in voices and views of Indigenous creators allows for the full story to be shared and for everyone to have a deeper understanding of Native cultures and struggles. Crucially, this isn't just telling the stories of the past, but the stories of now, respecting Native people and their rightful place in our current society. Taking a look at the numbers here, The levy is currently set at 2.85 million, and we spend variable amounts each year according to our needs. So this last year, we budgeted $2.32 million. And we can't wait to show you what we've been up to recently as well. So we wanted to tell you about a resource we've been able to provide to the community thanks to the levy of support this year. The library is proud to offer Vox Books. Vox Books are picture books that features a built-in audio player that reads the words on each page aloud at the push of a button. No computer, app, internet connection, CD player, or batteries are needed. It's all embedded in each book. And while it can play 150 times per charge, sometimes kids really like a book, and Vox Books can easily be recharged with a USB charger or simply returned to the library for a recharge. It's essentially an audiobook for kids. And for someone like my daughter, Lily, who is an emergent reader and starting to recognize words, seeing those words on paper and read aloud together is a great way to learn to read or build upon those early literacy skills. We offer 245 Vox picture books in total, which are available at all locations, and they're in English, bilingual English and Spanish, and bilingual English and Chinese. Titles in French and Japanese are coming soon, which will be very helpful, particularly for our youth in the community, but also for anyone learning a new language. The library is always looking for new and innovative ways to help support its community, and this is one example of how we are doing just that. Our focus has been consistent, to give our community as much access as possible in these challenging times, which is reflected in our library roadmap. Our values have been 1, flexibility, recognizing that we need to be flexible to best serve our community. 2, accessibility, enabling fair and universal access to the valuable resource our community needs. Our third value is equity. Equity, diversity, and inclusion are central to the promotion and practice of intellectual freedom. And we recognize that equity comes through increased diversity in our services, programs, and collections. And our fourth and last value is safety. Patron safety is paramount to our community's perception of EPL as a safe, welcoming, and accessible organization. As we look to the future to emerge stronger and more able to serve our community, we are currently engaging with our community to better understand what their needs are, their new needs are, as the impacts of the pandemic are still with us. As a community-driven organization, we have been excited to get that data so we can be sure to focus on what our community's holistic needs are. And the last 2 years in a row, we've been a star library, which we haven't been since 2013 before receiving it in both 2020 and 2021. The levy support helped us have a library of that caliber. The levy is a big part of what helps us uphold and bolster our first-class library, which residents of Eugene expect and deserve. Having a strong library creates a strong and educated community, which fits the values of the city of Eugene. Speaking of our community, you've heard from me today about what our library does for the community. So we want you to hear directly from our community on what the library means to them. I'll play a short video so you can directly hear from them yourselves. Thinking.
Living in Eugene, it's important for us to get our kids to love books and to love learning, and there's really no place like the library for that. There's so many different things that they can do. They can come here and play. They can play outside, which is a really great feature of this library. Especially during the pandemic, it was a really wonderful, safe place for us to go.
I really love what the library means to families, and one of my favorite things, kind of how I fell back in love with libraries, is to see in my children their love of the library and what it means to them. That just makes it mean that much more to me as a parent, and to feel that echoed in myself.
Can you introduce yourself? What is your name?
Zoe.
Zoe, how old are you?
4.
4 years old. And do you like coming to the library?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, why do you like coming to the library?
Because I love all the books.
I have been coming to the library for years, and it's just kind of been like a place where I feel safe for a large majority of my life. My name is Adro. I use he, they pronouns. I have a lot of depression and anxiety and stuff, and I've been able to just come chill in the library in the teen center, and like Caitlin and Megan and Wes and Jason, they're always there to like listen to whatever you want to talk about and stuff like that, and they've always been like super supportive. Those four are probably my like favorite people here at the library.
My name is Adam McAllister. 65, still homeless, but I'm doing a little bit better than an average homeless person. In the early times, I was here every day because I didn't have any place to go, and there's a place to keep warm. The librarians are friendly. You know, they're very good people. I have conversations with them a little bit more than I should, but I'm a historian. I have a doctorate in 20th century European and American history, but my main thesis is World War II. Well, basically what I do is I do my own research. So what the library does is just give me the space for me to do my work. If you had to go to an office and you had to do your work, and you got a lot of paperwork or a lot of stuff to really research, this is where I come.
Well, I think the library is so many things for so many different people. I sit at the information desk, so I see people coming in, and it's a true cross-section of the community.
You got sciences over here, you got building stuff over there, quilting, cat care over there, anything you know about animals. Main novels up top. I mean, like, it covers just about every needs of anyone who wants to actually want to be in here.
I just think being in a community that has such a dynamic library, that has one that has such wonderful programming in the community and such a beautiful building that you can congregate and is safe, it's something that makes Eugene special, and it's something I brag about to others, that we have such a good library when they come visit us, and we're just really proud to have it as part of our community.
This library, just a great place, just flat out.
And with that, I wanted to last mention how important our library team is. They've always kept their eye toward supporting the community as much as we can safely and eliminating as many barriers of access as possible for our community. Thank you very much, EPL staff. You helped make the library what it is today. And lastly, thank you for all your time and attention and your leadership during this challenging time. I continue to be grateful for all the work you do to make Eugene a better place. Thank you.
Thank you. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you so much, Ben and Will. What a terrific presentation, and really is a nice way to round out what is otherwise been a kind of a stressful run. And so we're glad to think of all the positive things. I do have a couple of counselors in the queue, and so I'll turn it over to them, but I do have a couple follow-up comments. So I have Mike and then Alan in the queue. And Randy.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't want to rain on the mayor's parade. I appreciate her comments and agree that that was a fantastic presentation. And I am a huge supporter of the library. For the last 25 years, I'm one of those lunatics standing in line at 5 a.m. waiting for the Friends of the Library sale. And it's, for me, the program selection that you just showed in that video is vital to a strong community. But I do want to say that when we brought back the idea of a library levy, I voted against it. As somebody who is a huge supporter of the programs that you have created since then, and the extras that we brought on, like the digital printer and everything else, that the 3D digital printer, you know what I mean. I voted against it because at the time we were facing a big deficit with our PERS account. And while I supported the work and what was created, and I still do, and I think on balance, it's a good thing. But we were facing a deficit and putting ourselves in a box where we were adding new programs to one part of our city government in the library. At the same time, we were looking at major cuts. I voted no on both the parks levy and the police levy, or the new tax for the police effort, for the same reasons, because I thought it was an unintelligent choice that put us in a difficult financial box. And I still agree with that, because today we're in a really awful place right now. We've brought on all kinds of new programs for the library, and that's awesome. It's serving a lot of new people, and it's great. But we have to cut $15 to $20 million out of next year's budget, and we can't do it now out of those particular new services at the library. We can't do it from the police new personnel we're bringing on board with the new tax, and we can't do it with parks with the new things we brought on there, because we promised those things if people gave us more money. And we're still in a $15 million hole or more. So we're going to have to cut from everyone else. And I think that's a bad decision when it comes to the financial management of the city. But again, I'm more than happy with how you've used those funds and the programs we've created, because I think they're fantastic. And they do create a wonderful service that sets us apart as a community. I just don't think we're budgeting in an intelligent way. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Alan, and then Randy.
Great. Thanks, Will. You get an award for cutest slides, pictures, and that was an awesome video, especially Mr. McAllister, a PhD homeless person. Congratulations to and good luck to you and your family on your new addition. The levy passed with 76%, which is really quite high. Maybe could you, when was that passed and what years does it cover and when will we go back into renewal mode?
Yeah, so it was passed in November 2020. It was passed 76%, I think 76.71, but who's counting?
That's 77, by the way.
Yeah, you rounded down, you should have rounded up.
Right? Absolutely. But yeah, it covers from July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2026. So we still have some time there, but yeah, it was voted on in 2020 in November, and it's carries through to June 30th, halfway through the fiscal year there of 26.
Right. So if it comes back to council for a decision to renew, it'll be in the 2025 timeframe.
Yep.
Or earlier. Great. I had a question about the fines. I think it's great that we don't have any fines anymore and that we had over 600 people rejoin. What was the financial impact of no fines?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we've done is we've actually shored up the library's budget to cover that. So there's no impact to the general fund. We found ways to, it's a service. It's great that people are able to use it. And the library is all about access. So making sure those people and lots more people are going to continue to use the library, and some that may not even come out in the numbers that may have not used the library before. That's really important to us. So I believe it was 235,000. I'm not quite sure. I've been out for a little bit here, so I'm just getting back from there. So I don't remember that number off the top of my head, but it does not impact the general fund because the library covered it, made adjustments in its budget.
Yeah, I knew it was a pretty big number, so you absorbed it internally. Yep. So it's no impact. Good on you for doing that. The summer reading program, almost 12,000 kids, rounding up, Will.
Got to give myself more credit. I'm from the Midwest.
Yeah,
I'm a little
12, almost 12,000, right?
Yeah.
I assume the paper shredder has a thing on it that says not to be used on library books. Can you send it out?
If not, we'll make sure it does.
Yeah, that's a good idea. On slide 8, 1.6 million collection size and 1.1 million electronic items. I don't have a sense of how that relates. How big is that? Big, relatively speaking, to like other places? Can you give me a sense of how to relate that?
The full collection size?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a great size. I think we have a very strong collection here. I don't know what other libraries are looking at, but I'd say it's in line, if not maybe a little bit above, because we do have a number of different services that other libraries don't have, which we're very grateful for that extra community support, so we can offer that. So I would think it's a little above, but it's probably just a little above what other libraries do, but it's within line with other libraries are doing as well.
Right. And the services you guys provide, as Mike was mentioning, those are amazing what you've been able to do, and the 473,000 physical items, it's things you can do. I was really interested in that digital divide conversation you were starting about the haves and have-nots. Can you give us a little bit more about that? Some examples? What do we need to do? What resources? I voted for a higher levy actually, and how would that have helped?
Yeah, potentially it could have, absolutely. So we could have potentially done more hotspots. There's been a number of different areas we could have had, different computers, things like that. So the library really plays a critical role in bridging that, because like I said, it's not the technology, it's not the ability to use that technology, but it's the availability to access that. That's really been what we're seeing crop up with the digital divide. And so the library giving people that access to those resources helps shore that up. And it's the the bridge between there is widening more and more because we have more expectations on what people can do technology wise. So the library, by providing that, making sure everyone has that equitable access to those services, that's really critical and important, gives people an opportunity to access something they might not have. And, those resources really are necessary for kids going to school, for adults going to work. We even have like an area where people can do interviews for Zoom, a little spot, because we recognize not everyone has a quiet area they can go and be free of kids and dogs and every other thing. So we really work hard to make sure people all have that opportunities to be the best them they can be.
And if I can chime in too, Councilor Zelenka, it's almost like a three-legged stool. There is the access to the equipment or the technology itself, which is an impact. There is the access to the training materials and the opportunity to play in a sandbox a little bit. And then there's the opportunity for staff who are trained in those particular tools to help aid as a resource to grow. So depending on what sort of barrier it is for folks, we typically have a way around that to help give them access or comfortability or additional resources to learn and sort of skill up.
So we see that with like people applying for jobs. Someone may not be able to utilize the internet. We saw a lot of people coming out of kind of the service industry, and they may have not signed up for an online application before, and they really need that help. So it really is a critical need for people. They may have computer access, but as Ben so eloquently pointed, they may need some help to be able to submit that application. So yeah, that's important. Sorry to interrupt you. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to put you on the spot. What would you want more from the council? What can we do to help bridge this digital divide and haves and have-nots?
I think the support for the levy and looking forward, it's how we look to, Eugene's growing. And so we're going to have more needs as in the future. So as we look to how we could sustainably and thoughtfully, because we also want to be thoughtful on how we approach our growth. We want to be good stewards of the community support. We have to be really thoughtful of that. So we're actually looking at how we can do that and how we can grow our services while still being mindful of, again, the gap we have there. So we're looking at that right now, and we'll be sure to follow up on that support and how you can help out.
You want to add something good?
Yeah, I was just going to add, we're going through a process right now of community engagement. There's a few different things that have occurred, but recognizing that the library that we established when, we set it up is very different than the library we experience today, as is the community in which it lives. So we've gone through a pretty specific and intense round of community engagement to find out what the community is looking for in their library and looking for, as we try to overcome digital divide, as we try to overcome the slumps that students have experienced with the in and out of school and the masking and all of those things. We're in the second round of that, which is sort of clarifying and honing in. Will has an absurd goal of 5,000 responses. I say it's absurd because that's really high for what we've traditionally done. But we've already hit over 1,000 in just the last couple of weeks of folks who've intentionally gone in and filled out these very specific surveys to talk about the resources and the needs that they're experiencing in the community where the library might be able to help. Given the financial situation that we're in, we are always looking at how we augment services instead of, always expanding services. Stewardship is a really important thing to the library, but it is a building of people, right? It is a building of people who are providing a service, and that does help inform how we look at these things.
Great. I'd like some follow-up on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
On both those issues. Two more questions. What's a star library?
Oh, Star Library. It's kind of like the Oscars for the library world. It's basically kind of the libraries that perform very well. It's an award that the Library Journal, which is one of the publications, kind of the industry publications for libraries, is basically recognizing the top 1% of libraries for cost effectiveness and good stewardship of funds and utilization of what we offer. So
in the
I equate it to the Oscars of the library world.
So top 1% in the country.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yes.
Awesome. You should have spent more time. I had a slide on that.
We don't want to brag too much.
Is that rounding up 1% or?
No.
Finally, one of the last slides you had is about the safety issues, which are of concern. What are your top 3 safety issues?
Top 3 safety issues?
Yeah, at the library.
I think for me, I don't even know if I'd say top three. I think it's always just about having a space where, 2,000, 3,000 people come in every day. How to create a space where everyone feels welcome and everyone has an opportunity to utilize the library. And so what we really focus on is behaviors of people. So for us, it's really important just to focus on that. For safety for us, we want to make sure everyone's using the library in the way that they're supposed to, and that it doesn't impact other people. Our goal is to always keep people in the library and utilizing it every time, that's really important for us. So having conversations and creating those connections, I think, is actually one of the most important things we can do. And our team goes and really makes those relationships with people to be able to address those issues. So I don't know if there's a top three, but I think really making sure we have those good connections and relationships with people, because we have a lot of people who come back every day to the library, and having good relationships with them and having trust with them is really helpful for us and really important. So I'd say really that's for me it. And Ben, I defer to you if you have anything else, but for me, I think that's the biggest one, is just having those relationships, talking with people, because, people are struggling and we want to be their support and help them through that.
Yeah, I think we definitely experience the highs and lows of the neighborhoods in which our facilities are in, to be sure. But the library is also established as a welcoming place for those communities and neighborhoods. So we might have a slightly different approach to the increased activity in the downtown core, in that we welcome those folks into the building and work to resource them and work to support them. But as Will mentioned, with several thousand people coming through, we have pretty stringent health and safety type of inspections that we do in the building to make sure that things are clean, and to make sure that, especially when infectious illnesses, flu season, and those things are going around. So it's a multi-pronged approach, both around behaviors, but then just also around what it takes to keep that many folks in a space clean.
Yeah.
And safe. Yeah.
Do you feel like you have enough security for inside the building and on the street front?
I think it would depend on the day. I think a mixture of, we have security, and then we have a sort of ambassadorial staff inside the building that try to cover these things. Will, do you have a sense on that?
Yeah, I think we do okay with that. I think, like I said, creating those relationships with people. So when someone's having a tough day, we can have that conversation with them, and usually that nullifies it. I mean, it's really about people and relationships and having those connections. So I think we're well resourced in that area. I think want to take a really thoughtful, kind approach. Again, as Ben kind of mentioned, we take a different approach to things. I view the library as a sanctuary for people to be able to come to. If you want to come in and talk with people, great. If you just want to kind of go and be by yourself, that's an important place to be able to do so too. So I think we have that, and I think we have the support of both the security team we have, and then the library staff who plays that ICOB role. That's kind of what Ben was mentioning with that role. And then we always have someone else who can come by. Lavina Norenberg is great. She's great support for that. And so I think we do pretty well. And again, it's because we create those relationships and connections with people. So when someone is having a tough day, we say, hey, maybe today's not your day, or help me out here or whatever. And that makes a big difference in the way we approach things. So again, we take a bit of a different track, than a lot of places do, because our goal is to always keep people in the library and utilizing it as much as we possibly can.
Great. Yeah. Thanks. And great article in the weekly, Will.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks, Alan. That was a 3-minute questioning that took 15 minutes. So you get a record. Get a record. I have Randy, then Matt, and then Greg in the queue.
Thank you, Mayor. You sure that broke the record?
It was less.
Don't try to be.
Don't try to be. Thank you. Thank you both for the presentation, and Will, congratulations on adding to your family.
It's collection.
Well, I also wanted to compliment you on slide 2 with the baby crawling down the stacks. Good job on raising the bar on your early reading program.
Right.
That is important. I do think the library is important to our community. I know it's important to our people. I share some of Councillor Clark's concerns around our financial condition and how we're going to continue providing all these wonderful services in a period of time where we just aren't hitting the mark financially. One question I did have was going back to youth. What kind of programs do we have for underprivileged, disenfranchised youth that we have in our city, and trying to develop a love for education and help keeping them engaged in school and, work with 15th Night, things like that.
Yeah, we partner with lots of different organizations like 15th Night on that. I know pre-pandemic, we also have, it's not even about programmings, but also we have like a little like kind of take what you need cupboard for the teen area for things that, feminine products, which we offer in our locations now, but granola bars, things like that folks may need. So that's something that we're really aware of, is that people are having a tough time, and we want to be able to support that. And so our teen center is very thoughtful in the way they approach it, particularly our teen center. Our whole library is, but the teen center really is thoughtful in how they approach that. And we work with other partner organizations to offer on Fridays like a feed for folks to be able to come by and get that help focused on youth, and lots of other different things that we do. And even just our regular programming day to day, sometimes what folks need is just an escape to get off, to get out of, difficult environment, the streets, so to speak, and to be able to relax and just be a kid and just be a youth member. And I think that, part of the community, I think that's really an important part, that sometimes it's not even the targeted programs, which we have some of those, but it's being this open, inclusive place where everyone can just feel like they're part of the community. And I think that's really important, and a big part of what we do at the library is making people feel welcome and included as a part of our community, no matter who you are or how long you've been in our community or your status or anything. That's hugely important for everybody. So it's, yes, those partnerships with organizations like 15th Night, but it's also adding normalcy and stability, as you saw in the video, just having someone to talk to, having someone to be able to support you and give you guidance at those critical points, and knowing you have a safe person in the world that you can talk to if something's going awry, I think is one of the most critical things that we do, not just for our youth, particularly our youth, but for all of our community.
Hey, Will, would you actually, I think, talk a little bit about the Bethel Early Literacy Catchment Project as well?
Yeah,
I think that
absolutely.
would contribute to what Councilor Groves is asking.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're looking at different ways in the Bethel community. We did some surveying to see how we can best serve those community members, being an area that sometimes needs some additional support. We've been working on that in partnership. We've been funding that and working with other partner organizations, and how we can better embed literacy into the fabric of that community. And then seeing what works in that particular catchment area, we could then expand to other areas as well too. But we're starting with there because they need some additional help. So we're looking at different things we can do to support early literacy in that area, and a love for reading. Whenever someone tells me they don't like reading, I say, you just haven't read the right book yet. So it's really important that we find that and find people to have a love of literacy.
And we recognize there's a direct correlation between third grade reading levels and future potential success, graduation rates, and whether or not you might end up as a repeat offender around juvenile types of instances and those things. So it's a real heavy focus around that third grade reading level. And then again, the work that we do with that early teenage group population in partnership with 15th Night. So we try to intervene, in several areas throughout the development.
And that's a big reason why we wanted to do the 0 to 5 cards for folks who go to Bethel and 4J, because literacy starts at 0. There's even evidence that says it starts before you're even born. So really focusing on that 0 to 5 age to make sure we get books in the hands of kids and parents reading to kids early, that's going to be really helpful, because once you get to third grade reading levels, and it's hard to hear this, statistically, folks aren't able to catch up if they're behind at reading levels after third grade. So we really have to get early and often. And that's why early literacy in the library is such a critically important part for us of our service mixes. And what we do is really focusing on early literacy and development of reading early.
Well, I do appreciate the response, and I do recognize and appreciate the structure and stability that the library as an institution does provide our community. I know now is not the time to raise new ideas, but I just feel remiss as the Ward 8 City Councilor in Southwest Eugene if I don't point out we do not have a branch library. We do not have a community center or a pool, although land was purchased. I'm happy about that. We do not have a dog park. So just for my colleagues to put in the back of your mind when we start talking during better times in the future, these are things that I would certainly like to see us work on, because we have youth, we have adults that need good and clear access to this resource as well. So thank you for what you do. thank you for the presentation and happy holidays.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Matt, and then Greg.
Thanks, Mayor. Will, Ben, thank you for the presentation. Will, congratulations. I hope you signed up that youngster for the Imagination Library free book every month between 0 and 4 years old. Or is it 0 to 5?
First day she was born. I don't think many people do this, but I signed her up literally the first day she was born. So
Of course you did. Opportunity for a shameless plug. Well done. I'm proud and thankful of the 3/4 to stand with the 3/4 of the community who voted to support the library levy at the height of the pandemic. 76%, 77%, a nod to Alan, rounding up, of the community coming out. 77.
Yeah, rounding up.
77% of voters coming out saying that they stand for library and the myriad of services the library provides. That's huge, and I have nothing but gratitude and thanks for the community members who made that call. I'd like to talk about the challenges and a wish list for in regards to services, staffing, et cetera, in regards to the Sheldon and Bethel branch, as well as a possible increase in drop or deposit as requested by one of my neighborhood associations, a potential deposit site at Amazon Pool, for example. Could you talk about that? And then I want to just briefly go into the library of things and talk about the events and a program that used to exist. I'd like to explore more, the PAUSE program. But could we talk about those challenges and a potential wish list and the possibility of additional drop sites?
Yeah, I can, Will, can I jump in first? And then I'll turn it over to you to fill in the extra blanks. Part of this outreach process that we're doing is actually trying to look at the system as an entirety. And then as we think about library rec and cultural services, thinking about the system as in its entirety. So when we think about spaces in West Eugene, or when we think about how rec centers might actually be able to support the expansion of access to library materials without infrastructure investment, without some of those things, that's definitely a huge part of the strategy that we're undertaking right now. And as we think about shoring up the finances and sort of the business operations in the context of our current budgetary challenges, that's really actually important to us, because we do believe there is a way to grow service access without actually increasing massive operations. There's some models in other communities that we're looking at really heavily as well. I think our branch libraries, I'm an outsider in this a little bit. I think they're wonderful locations, but they present us challenges in the spaces that they're in the fact that they're leased spaces, et cetera. And so we're really thinking about that entire system and how we might increase access without quote unquote growing the system, if that makes sense. Sorry, Will, I just wanted to context with that.
Yeah,
happy to have you jump in.
Yeah, no problem. And I'll say, kind of some of the issues with those spaces is, the branch libraries were put in about 2001, 2000. My timeline's a little hazy there, but they were pretty quickly outpaced. They need larger ones, particularly the Bethel area. A lot of times people want to do more. We want to program more. And some of the things that limits us is that space. That's a big thing for us. And while they're great, I don't want to take anything away from them. I think it'd be wonderful to have more space so we can do more programming, big programs like we're able to have downtown, more areas for people to experience all the library has to offer, make those community connections, things like that. So I think space for us is one that really would be something we'd love to have. And we're also, again, looking at how we can share and work better be more efficient as a community and more efficient as, LRCS, looking at in some of the systems plans. I know there's the possibility of Peterson Barn, as they look at potential new community center, how we could work together and have some of that shared space and shared costs so we can be more efficient, so we can find a way to grow our services to our community's needs without growing that budget and being really good stewards of the community's funds. So we're looking at models like that, what that would look like and how we could, add synergy, not only with, savings funds, but also having more of a place where community members can have more of a one-stop shop in terms of some of their LRCS needs and recreation, library. There's some synergies between there that we're exploring, and would love to take advantage of it as we look to potentially get out of some as we look to get more permanent buildings and shared spaces.
Thank you both. Pre-pandemic, there was a PAWS program, PAWS, that encouraged young readers to read to four-legged friends of our community. I have a retired Great Dane who would love to participate, who's almost 12. And I was so impressed with that program pre-pandemic. Has that returned? Is there any traction to see some life in the PAWS program? Is it unpaused? Is the PAWS program unpaused?
I definitely know it was on pause. The PAWS program was on pause, but I've been out a little bit, so I'm not sure. I know there was the desire to bring that back. That's something that was very popular, something we'd love to bring back, something we'd like to do more of as we increase our programming. I'm sure that's going to be something that we continue to consider, because I know before I left, we were looking at that, and that was one of the areas we wanted to get back to, because people love that. And, you know, reading to a dog seems funny, but it actually is scientific. It's proven that it helps with literacy skills, and having someone non-judgmental just to wag their tail and smile at you, help you make you feel more confident in your reading out loud is really important. So I'm confident that's something we're looking at bringing back. And as we ramp up our programming, particularly for youth, that'd be an area we definitely explore. So we'll hopefully unpause the PAWS program.
Vegas and I would love to participate. It's on pause. The Library of Things. I went to get a button maker several months ago and was on a 6-month waiting list. What's the process by which, if there's a popular thing, let's say it's a colander or an electric leaf blower, you know, if it is, well, instead of asking the process, I'm just curious, where are they housed? I kind of imagine like a Raiders of the Lost Ark storage facility.
You know,
and if someone requests something and you don't have it, then, you know, is it like, oh, I'm going to go out and I'm going to, well, you know, the library is going to stock electric leaf blowers? You know, what's that process look like, and where are they housed? And I'll end there.
So we're a community-driven organization. So we're going to be absolutely responsive to what our community is asking for. Now, you know, if one person just wants one particular item, sure, but we really look at what all the community's needs are. And we've actually done some surveying on what folks would want in that collection. So yeah, we're very flexible, and we consider that, you know, you can suggest an item just like you could for our collection of books. You can suggest an item, and we'd love to hear any feedback and hear what people are interested in. That's really important for us. Fortunately, we were looking at housing them where we would, and we were doing all this space planning. And then as we visited other libraries who are doing similar things, they really don't use a lot of space because they're out so often. So we have a shelf where it is. We probably couldn't store all of it, but it's just like our whole collection. We probably couldn't store all our books in our shelves. We depend on people taking them out because they do. And so actually the Library of Things collection is out so often, we don't have to house it. It's very fortunate in that way. There are a few items that, of course, not everyone checks out all the time, but for the grand majority of them, they're pretty much in people's hands all the time. And so we'll definitely look at that wait list. If you're on a 6-month waiting list, that's something we probably should look at, because it's popular, and that's what we are. We're a community-driven organization. So we're happy to hear any suggestions you might have. And then, you know, keep checking them out, so that way we can keep offering more and more.
Mayor, in my final 6 seconds, nothing but gratitude and thanks for offering the hot spots to our most vulnerable community members, giving them access to the internet throughout our community. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And Greg.
Yeah, I'll keep this as brief as possible. I think that most of my colleagues covered the questions that I have, but more precisely in terms of access and equity across the arc of the library system that we have. And I call it a system because we have the branch libraries at Sheldon, we have a branch library at Echo Hollow, even though that they are small facilities, they're leased facilities. They do provide some level of access in those neighborhoods that otherwise wouldn't be available. So a couple of questions or issues to raise is one, and congratulations, Will. My daughter-in-law had the baby. My son was there. So I have a grandchild that was born November 21st, and Marley, who's named after Bob Marley, is with us now. But has there been any thought to in terms of the transportation system piloting a way to combine a library card with a bus pass? Bus passes for all people who hold library cards would be a great way for them to be able to engage and interact with the downtown library. I know that it would cost money, but I believe that there are grant monies out there that could help pilot that program. One of those sources would be the Education Superhighway, who I did some work with back in 2018, and they're now involved in a project to extend broadband access to rural and underserved urban communities. So I know that that's going to be rolling out very soon. They're based in San Francisco. They're supported by the tech industry, and the source of funding are federal dollars that have been designated to make these connections. So I don't know whether you're aware of that or not. You may already be, but I'd like to see what we could do to access some of those funds and resources. The other thing and I will echo the sentiments of Councilor Groves in terms of access and the fact that we continue not to have access in the Southwest region, most prominently, and the South region too, as Councilor Taylor would quite often point out when we would bring up these discussions, that not everybody in Southeast Eugene could get to the library. So it looks like I've run out of time, but if you could address those issues, I would appreciate it.
Yeah, I'll start with the last one first. As Ben was talking about, we are looking at different locations and how people can get to our facilities. Even though we see more electronic resources, people still come to the library in droves. And we want to make sure that it's accessible. So we haven't worked anything with LTD. We'd definitely be open to any partnership with something like that. There's some other areas we'd love to explore, like even potentially putting some hotspots on buses so people could even use the internet and be able to, again, reach out, go out in the community. We'd love to be able to talk with LTD. So if you're out there, we'd love to start having that conversation on what that looks like. So we'd love to explore what a partnership looks like for a number of different things, including library cards and bus passes. That sounds awesome. We'd love to do that. Transportation is an issue for people coming to the library, and we want to make that as easy as possible. And so that would be what I would mention for the LTD part as well too, and making sure people can get to the library is an important factor. And we'd love to make it as easy as possible, because one of our big focuses, as you've seen through here, is access. And transportation is one of those issues that's an obstacle to access.
We've done similar stuff with the One Pass, which was, swimming pool access to both Eugene and Willamette Lane, bounce access, free bus passes all summer long for, I think it was like $50 or $75. It was very, very cost effective. And that had been going on for some years. We stopped the LTD partnership in that a year ago because they themselves made bus travel for youth free during the summer. And so that doesn't help the adults in our community. And that is definitely something that we need to look at, especially since adults that are underrepresented and underserved can more oftentimes be left behind than their youth counterparts. There's a lot more focus on youth. So I really appreciate the suggestion.
Thank you. I don't know if I can give you a second round.
I was just going to comment that both the IIJA and IRA have a bunch of transportation, billions of dollars. I'm not sure. I really like the idea of connecting the library card with the bus pass. There might be something, there's a lot of it's for increasing transportation or public transportation use. So that might be a connection that you could look into too for the IRA or the IIJA. And Randy, Ward 3 has no pool, no branch library, no dog park, and no community center either.
But you're closer to the downtown library than the Southwest.
Okay, well, we can see there are agendas here about which ward needs what, and so you have a shopping list. I'm not gonna, I think the counselors have asked plenty of questions. There are a couple of things. We had a community survey and it reflected people's discomfort or unhappiness with many of the things that are going on in the city. But the one thing it did reflect was incredible support and appreciation for the work of the library. Yeah. And I think everything you've said just reinforces why the public feels that way about the library. And, I'm always sort of touched and moved with the level of creativity and innovation and your compassion for this community and how you reach out. So I just thank you very much. Congratulations, Will, on having a brand new baby and being actually still coherent without getting much sleep. So thank you so very much. And I think with that, I just want to wish all my colleagues a good break, both staff and elected. Thank you for all you've done. It's been a very busy fall, promises to be a busy winter. And so I hope you all have plenty of time with friends and family and everybody gets healthy. Those of you who are not well now, I hope you have speedy recovery and I hope the rest of you stay healthy and we'll see you in the new year. Thank you so much. We're adjourned.